Hi, I'm Edgar Hernandez.
And I'm Nuri Robles. And this is
Bar Talking
Bar, your access to the heartbeat of New York City's bar and hospitality scene.
Hosted straight from the city that never sleeps, we sit down with bartenders, brands and ambassadors, hospitality pros, and cocktail lovers.
Whether it's the art of bartending, the hustle behind hospitality, or the wildest bar tales, expect raw conversations and industry secrets.
Listen to the people who pour your favorite cocktails and keep the nightlife alive.
If you love bars, spirits, and the stories that bring them to life, follow us, share, and subscribe to keep the conversations flowing.
The podcast that you didn't know you need.
New episodes weekly. Welcome back, and thank you for watching again. This is Bar Talking Bar,
your favorite podcast.
I'm Nuri Robles.
And I'm Meaghan Dorman.
And today we are having in our house, the studio here in New York City, an OG from the industry, Benjamin Zapien. Yay!
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming. I just want to say thank you for coming. Like I mentioned before, I'm really proud that you are from the same town where I come from. It is really great to see people, that we came out from this place and we're doing great in this big city. Yes. I mean, we want to know more about you. We want to know about Benji. Folks out there who have seen you, they probably know a little bit of your trajectory and what have you been doing throughout the years. But we want to listen it from the legend, from the person.
For everybody who doesn't know you, Benji, tell us who you are. Who are you?
Benjamin Zapien. We want to take you back on how I started in this industry. Talking about bar scene. One of my first experience was behind the kitchen. I think it was right after, practicing, looking for jobs in New York City back in the days. It was not necessarily knocking door to door, but more about I see one of my people out there, he's selling flowers. Maybe I'll ask him if they need help. That's back in the days, me learning how to ask for a job. And I was like, hey, you guys need any help? I can help you put away some deliveries and stuff. And I think that's how I landed one of my first job in 2008 at a grocery store in the Upper East Side.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Upper West Side. And they were like, yeah, we need somebody to help us, bag these groceries. And, if you're interested, we can bring you in. Not necessarily a restaurant job, but...
Yeah, that's how you started working.
Yeah, I feel like the one thing that I really take from that job is something that the restaurant industry should be practicing more, which is the first in, first out. You got to rotate all the dates.
Oh.
I bringing in new product. The cereal is expired. You don't want the customers to buy something that's already expired. So it was that rotation. So a lot of things that we do in our daily lives is something that I like to put into work in the bar scene as well. And after a few months, I was working, very crazy hours. It was from 7 p.m. until 7 in the morning.
Oh, shit.
So 6 days a week, that was the only job opportunity I had. So I said, why not? Later on, at the time, my sister, she was working as a waitress in a Mexican restaurant in Harlem. And I was like, you're working less hours, still nighttime, but a lot less hours, and you're making so much more money.
Yeah.
And, she did suggest, she's like, you gotta learn English. You gotta, study. And I was like, sure, whatever it takes.
To get more money.
Yeah, that's the goal. And I remember, hanging out at her restaurant for, a little bit. And then one of her regulars, she introduced him to me. And it wasn't necessarily a bar. It was more like a little restaurant where, they build regulars, but you were able to order beers. It was more like a seated restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I can get you a dishwasher job if that's what you're looking for. It's a good way to start. No one will start in their dream jobs, right? And so I was like, yeah.
It was also a Mexican place?
The place that I started?
Yes, like a dishwasher.
No. I remember the first job that he got me as a dishwasher. It was on somewhere in the theater district, which ironically I'm working around there right now. But back in 2008, 2009 at the time. It was a big restaurant. I never really saw what the restaurant looked like because I was only the back of the house. The employees had like a different entrance. They brought me into the back and they put me in one of the dishwasher positions, which it was 4 stations, I think. So it was 4 dishwashers at all times. I felt like the job never ended. It was like washing dishes from like 6, 7 in the morning starting, and I left at like 2, 3 p.m. And the pile of dishes never ended. It was like a catering company almost. There was like 20, 30 people working in that kitchen. Never thought of anything, but just to try to wash as many piles of dishes as possible. I was never able to catch up. So I was like, maybe this is not for me, or maybe not this place. Same person that helped me get the job pushed me to a different job position, and it was also a dishwasher position. But at least I came with a little bit of experience, how to use the machine, how to, run the dishes. Not big science, but everything.
Yeah, but everything.
It's practice.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was still underage. I was 17 years old at the time, and that's my transition into like, okay, I'm really gonna be dedicated to learn the language and start putting myself in school. And I got this job and I kept it for like 6 months, and I was getting tired, and I got along with the chef. At the time, I think that my first English practice was my sister's study guide that every Hispanic now is called Inglés Sin Barreras.
Oh, yeah.
I think we all got it.
We all got it. Nobody used them, but guess what? I did.
Guess what? It works.
If it works, it worked for me. Yeah. So, it was during the time that I had this job that was 12 hours a day. It was really frustrating to me because I think that was the first time that I had more of an interaction with people, and they'll say something to me and I was like, I don't know what to say. Yeah. I'll say yes or just smile. But, it was very important to me to know what they were saying because I wanted to say something back. I like to be somebody who interacts with people. So every day after work, I'll come in, go home, and study for like an hour. There was like a CD player that was like playing for like a lesson of 30, 40 minutes. And along with the lesson, you had to do a little writing. And, that helped. And everything that I learned, I'll bring it in and try to just as in a conversation with the clerk, the person that was the front desk at the grocery store I was working at. Fast forward to the dishwasher job that I had, the chef was, he was always talking to me in English and Spanish. He was from Senegal, so his first language was French.
So it was a little helpful.
Yeah, it was a little helpful, like anything that I didn't really understand, he would say it to me in Spanish, but I was like, can you please just talk to me in English so I know what everybody's saying? I feel like he was one of the biggest supporter in the industry at the time, even behind the back of house. And he's the one that kind of showed me, like, there's always going to be opportunities, and you just got to be willing to take those opportunities. I didn't want to be washing dishes anymore after 2 months, and I was willing to look for something else. But then he was like, why don't you help the guy making the soups? So why don't you start prepping? I was like, yeah, sure. I have nothing else to do, and learning how to do the whole prepping. Again, we're probably going to discuss this later on, but it's the whole setup for the kitchen or for the bar that's very helpful later on.
Okay, yeah. I always think like that, like bartenders, they are real chefs behind it.
What do you call it? The mise en place.
Yeah.
The mise en place, yeah. Mise en place is getting ready for your shift.
Get ready for your shift. You got to expect the unexpected, be ready for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then somebody else later on decided not to show up. He got fired, and then chef is like, hey, I need somebody in the fry station and salad station. I was already helping the guy because, you know, if there was nothing else to do when I was washing dishes, I would try to look at what somebody else was doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting, you know. I've always been somebody that craves learning something new.
Something different.
I like to get my hands on it. Like, I want to be able to know how to do it. So I jumped in, and I guess that was my first step into the line in the kitchen. And, you know.
The pressure.
The pressure. Yeah, I really understood what it means to be in the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the time, I think I was 18 or so. I was going to high school at the time. I was able to put myself to school. And the chef was very understandable. Like, you know, later on, I was able to accommodate my schedule to still be able to work and go to school. But I like both. I like being in the kitchen and being in school, but, you know, schedules didn't really match. So he hated to see me go, but I still kept the job in that same company.
Okay.
And thanks to one of my, well, he's not my brother-in-law, and I met him at that place. Mm-hmm. He was like, why don't you come to work with us on the floor? And I was like, yeah, just, you know, carrying plates. You know, being in the kitchen, you're somebody who always makes fun of the front of house. Just like, oh, they're not really doing much.
They're not working hard. They're just carrying one plate at a time.
They're just carrying one plate at a time. Hey, like, can you help me with my mistakes? And like, I need this on the fly. You know, it's the back of house was like, I was sweating. I was like, you know, flipping up those burgers on a rush. This was in Penn Station. So imagine a weekend that the Rangers are playing and everybody comes into town. Taking the Amtrak, the Amtrak Long Island Railroad, and the New Jersey Transit, like, get super packed in this restaurant and flipping burgers, different temperatures, medium rare, well done. You know, specifications about, like, I don't like, you know, no tomatoes, no onions, none of this. So
you have to memorize everything.
Yeah, you know, you have tickets, and I do remember that later on I was put in the middle area, which it was delegating the tickets for the salad station, the grill. So I, you know, flipping up the interest and sending out, firing every dish is a process. So I feel
Little expo.
Yeah. So being the expo, being under pressure is like what put me now in a restaurant of a caliber that's like always busy, understand how to work the weeds.
Yeah.
But also, you know, it's very interesting and not funny, but I feel like that's super cool that you guys come from the same city. I mean, we're Mexican.
Within miles, I think.
Yeah.
Within, miles.
The three of us, we came from Mexico City, but, you know, you were talking about, like, how do you, like, we talked about that a little bit before, like, how you also were working in Mexico. And I think, like, kind of our generation is also part of, like, having this mentality of, like, just go and do it and learn and do it good, right? And I think that's kind of like the work ethic that we have, and it works.
Sin miedo al éxito.
Sin miedo al éxito.
Exactly. And I feel like everyone wants to excel at anywhere, anything that you do. You know, like we talk about you working. I mean, now at the supermarket and then working in the kitchen, in the back of the house. You always want to, like, you know, show up that you can do it. You can handle the pressure. You can control it, because that's the most important part of it. Like, yes, being in pressure, being in the weights, but can you control it? Because once you lose the control of things, you know, you forget, I don't know, analogy, which is very important nowadays. Although it's always been important, but if somebody doesn't like onions, but you put onions in there, there's contamination. You have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
So you have to be, like, very mindful and, you know, focused, like, locked in, like we say, you know. And yeah, I mean, it comes with a lot of experience, but I'm glad that you went through that phase. And then what did you do after that?
Yeah, so then, you know, they brought me out on the floor. I was able to get trained as a busser and, you know, cleaning tables, and I was still able to come into work after school at that time. I think, you know, 4:30, like I was able to work the dinner rush. But I told you it was not easy. Kind of, finishing high school at my age at that time that I was going to high school, and then going for a full-time job still 4 or 5 times a week, late night, finishing late, then going back to work, going back home, try to do some homework, and
then
waking up early.
basically take a nap, right? Because
take a nap,
fully sleeping.
Yeah, I remember the principal in high school. She was very helpful always. They'll let me go into the office and just take a power nap, during recess, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It was close your eyes, and then immediately, it really helped. I still practice it sometimes when I'm overworked and tired. Just a power nap always helps, but it's important that you get your rest.
Especially when you ride the subway too.
Yeah, yeah. I used to fall asleep on the subway a long time ago.
And that time, do you remember? How do you feel not just like physically, but mentally? What was your coping mechanism to be, I want to do this?
Entirely was just, trying to learn, I feel like the motivation was always trying to reach for that next position, next step. I was about to finish high school. It really helped me, and at the time, I practiced my English. I was I feel like it's good enough. Being in the kitchen, I was able to communicate with a lot of people, but there was still a lot of Spanish speakers. And going to high school, I was able to practice with a lot of other people that, I had to learn. It was a must. Mm-hmm. So it was learning my basic education along with learning a new language and learning a new job position. It's it was all together. So I feel like there was so many things in my head at that time. There was always so much to learn. And the next position was to be a server. And I feel okay, I learned enough. I know the things. Now what's next? And it was, I guess, trying to get over my fear of how to feel confident talking to people that I don't know, how to talk to a stranger and, have this understanding that I'm here to help you, but I must know what you're telling me so I can be of help. So I didn't really land a lot of jobs as a server because obviously 18, 19 years old, I needed experience to work in any restaurant. And back to where my sister used to work at the time in a place in Harlem. This guy was okay, it seems like you have a lot of downtown experience. Maybe that will be helpful up here in Harlem. And I think at that time I was 20. I was turning 20 years old, and he was do you want to get behind the bar? That's what you want. And I was sure. Let me practice and get over my fear. So this was in 2012, and this guy, he's the owner of Still Standing Picante restaurant in Central Harlem on 139th Street.
Shout out.
What's his name?
Angel.
Hey, Angel. Thank you for bringing
Picante.
Benji to this messaging journey.
Yeah, he gave me that opportunity, and that place is still its own personal thing. It's, very loved in the neighborhood. I remember my first cocktail I made, and it was his brother was actually running the bar, and he was do you know how to make any drinks? I was not really. I mean, the bar that I worked at, it was pouring beers from drafts. I can do that. He was I studied some drinks, but back in the days, I think it was the Mr. Boston book, the red book. Mm-hmm. And it was a little bit hard to read because the measurements, I didn't really understand the milliliters or the ounces or how to approach a cocktail.
Were you using jiggers or?
No, it was a very difficult time when, do you use a measuring tool, jigger, or do I learn how to speed pour by counts? So then the guy was oh, you just got to learn how to do this, count 1, 2, 3 of this, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's how you count your ounces by seconds. And, it works if, you practice it enough. I know some bars still do free pouring, and it worked for me. It helped me, but it does take practice.
Yeah.
And he had me make a mojito. So he gave me the recipe. I followed the recipe as it is, and included the soda in the tin. So when I shook the drink, everything exploded.
Oh.
I went all over my face. It popped out the bar, and I splashed some of the customers in front of me. I was really embarrassed, and I was like, I'm not cut for this job. Can't do it. And then he was like, yeah, just don't be nervous.
Rookie.
Rookie, yeah.
That happened to all of us. That happened to me with egg whites, and I smell like egg whites all day.
Yeah, there's always like a little embarrassment, like I walked in with confidence. I'm like, I know how to do this. I feel like that's my advice. Just gotta have the confidence to do it, and you'll get the job.
And also, you're gonna be learning because it's a repetitive motion over and over. Like, exactly. How many mojitos have you made in your entire career? Probably more than 1,000.
Yes.
Just to mention, just to come with a number, but so many customers that you make over and over and over 1,000 times that it's just like imprinted.
Muscle memory stays there,
Yeah, and I once you said that you want to be a server, I think one thing that happened to me that I was able to be a server too, and I didn't speak very well English either. So I remember I went to this table and they asked me for that's what I hear, like a peach. And I was like, okay. So they told me something else, but I was very nervous. So in this restaurant, it was a Mexican restaurant in the Upper West Side as well. And I remember, everybody was, super helpful, trying to be supportive. So then I went to the waitress, and I was like, you know what? I don't know. They asked me for something with peach. And they said, we don't have anything with peach. And I was like, I don't know. That's what they asked me. So she went back, and she's like, no, they want a pitcher of something. And I was like, but what is a pitcher? And it's like, una jarra. And I was like, oh, now I learned another word, Yeah. But it's so cool that we have those experiences, because I feel like many that we want to be in this industry, we have that hunger of I want to learn, because I also want to be in that position, and I want to make this amount of money, but also I want to be, kind of walking in I did it.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, it's building the confidence. Yeah, the confidence, it's doing it over and over, and also the repetition gives you that security of saying and knowing what you're doing. So, also one thing I understand and I learn also, it's movements. Because the movement, when you move your hands, you put your hands in your waist, you put, you cross your hands. This is a verbal, this is also communicating. It's not just verbal.
It's all body language.
Exactly. So, when you're talking to a guest, you also learn that because, if you are a little bit, insecure, you're shaking. And that's not bad. It's just, the fact that you have to go through that step to learn. But other folks, you could have said, oh, no, and this is not for me, and walk away. Because I had a similar experience happen to me when I saw somebody walking out. I was like, oh, the pressure, you have to be able to handle this pressure and control it. And you just hey, I'm going to clean this section. I want to start all over again. And then you just make it all over again. You apologize if you got somebody in the shower. Oh, hey. And you make it hey, you've been baptized or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, with a mojito.
We can speak a little bit about that when, fast forward, this happened to me a few years ago. Just for anybody that knows me, I'm fully deaf on my left side. And I use a hearing aid on my right side. A few years ago, I went completely deaf, and I was not able to hear at all for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
But I was still able to go to work. I remember my first time behind the bar, after not being able to hear, I brought a little journal. Mm-hmm. And it was during the pandemic, so we didn't have to seat people in front of us or standing anybody. And I was able to kind of just communicate to people through body language. And I was kind of reading their lips, but it was also very hard for me to read somebody's lips when everybody was wearing masks.
Oh, shit.
And funny enough, and I'm sure that my guy Kevin will see this, he currently works at Rain's Law Room, but he's one of the people that I was training during that time. that I told them. I was like, I can't hear anything, so just please watch what I do, and I hope that you learn. I will pull the recipe. This is how you do things, but just watch me work. That's the only way that I can train you right now. I can't hear anything. So, it takes a lot of learning. So back, rewinding a little bit back to the story, the things that I didn't know versus the things that I know now, I was able to train somebody by just explaining, like you said, body language says a lot.
Wow.
So, you take those difficult struggles into something that you're capable of doing. Like you said, some people are afraid to do things. And, I was like, I'm going to figure out a way.
Yeah, find out.
And, it's very admiring, Jenny. I didn't know that. And I feel like, especially in this job that, you work at the bar, you hear all the, all the noises behind you and the music and people talking and, be able to, do your job and also still, wanting to do it for other person. It has to be very, uncomfortable, I guess, because you want to make sure that the person is learning, right?
Yeah, I mean, it happens to me sometimes when I'm talking to guests and they don't know anything. Obviously, they don't know me. They don't know anything about me. They look at me on first impression. They're like, oh, you look like you're fine. Then it takes them a minute to realize, oh, this guy has a hearing aid. Or if they talk to me, they think that I ignored them. And one of my coworkers are like, he didn't ignore you. He just left. And I go around like, sorry if I messed up, but what can I get for you? It's always me reassuring that somebody needs to know, that I do have a disability, but it doesn't stop me from being able to help them out.
Yeah. Industry secrets.
I got that.
Yeah. All right, no.
So, but going back to your first mojito.
My first mojito.
What happened next?
He gave me that opportunity. I worked for a few years, and I learned a lot of what we call the modern cocktails. And he told me, he's like, I feel like you're ready for something else. Maybe you want to go out there and find something. And I feel like the point of comfortability for everybody sometimes is what kind of stops us from moving forward. And I think that this is something on my person that anytime that I find any zone of comfort, I want a little more, I feel like that's everyone. Once you find comfortability, you want to learn something else. And I wanted to work at this bars downtown. People used to tell me, oh, if you go downtown, there's this great cocktail bars. And at the time, it was like 2014. But I knew the neighborhood in Harlem very well. So that's what I was comfortable with. So I started asking around. And I got opportunities to work in certain places. One of them, it's like a Italian restaurant that didn't last for long, but they hired me right after I left this place, Picante. And it was like a brunch job and lunch. I didn't make any money, but it was a job. And every job that I applied to, they asked for experience. They looked at me and they're like, oh, you are 20 to 23 years old. Where's your experience? Where have you worked? And asking me questions about if somebody orders a Manhattan, how do you make it? And, I was just telling people based on things that I read in a book. I think one of the questions was also, how do you make a Boulevardier or a Negroni? Mind you, at that time, I don't think I was making many of those drinks. And everything I was making, it was happy hour, margaritas, flavor margaritas, bunch of mojitos, Sex on the Beach, Long Island iced tea, all this modern cocktails that at the time are also affordable for a happy hour and, party drinks. I started getting into more serious drinking, I guess, when, cocktail bars, they want an old-fashioned, they want a martini, they want a Manhattan. And I was like, wow, seems like I still got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
I got hired at this place. It wasn't that big of a bar scene. That's where I was doing mostly bartending during the lunch shifts and serving. I was able to take some tables and still make some money. And they had to sell the place, so they closed down the place, so I was moved to find another job. But the one thing that I take from this place, it was that they enter a competition for bartenders in Harlem. At that time, it was called the Uptown Battle of the Bars, and it was sponsored by Hennessy and Henricks. And that was the first time that I met the community of bartenders, people supporting each other. It was all about social media, and I think that's when Instagram started to pop. In order for your cocktail to be chosen, you gotta ask your friends to like the picture. And I was telling everybody hey, you gotta support me. And I was very excited to create something. I remember it was like a basil gin drink, gimlet style, and something with butterscotch and cognac. And I made it to those the next step where it was presenting in front of audiences, and it was 10 people participating, and I was representing the bar at the time. And I feel that point is when I met certain people that led me to where I am right now. But after they closed this place down, I found another job in Harlem that also got me to different interviews. All these questions, I applied to a lot of different places all over the city just to answer the interview questions, even though I was oh, thank you, this might not be for me, but thank you for the opportunity, just because I wanted to know what the questions were.
That's very smart.
Yeah. I'm not fitted for this position yet, because all you're asking me, I know the questions, I'm lying, but then I had to go and study.
That's a very, very smart way to
that's a good way, because you know now what they're looking for.
Yeah.
If you do a contest in your own brain, you're if out of 6 ask me for the same thing, I have to learn that. Yeah. That's what I have to put in my inventory back in there.
Yeah.
In your journal.
Yeah, it's all practice, and like you said earlier, it's something that you practice so often that it becomes second nature. It's not something that you're constantly thinking about. It's, in Spanish, it's lo que bien se aprende no se olvida. Sí. Once you learn something, you should not be able to forget it, but once you get into the practice, you're oh, I remember this.
Yeah.
Muscle memory.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember, what were the most popping questions that you have in the interviews?
A lot of the questions was, how to make the drinks. That was one of the most important things. How do you make a Manhattan? How do you make an old fashioned? How do you make a martini? And up to this date, I tell you, I know how to make the drinks for the person. Some people just still don't know how to order a martini, and that's fine. You're never gonna get it right for the people. I want a dry martini. I want an extra dry martini. I want an extra dry, slightly dirty martini. I was makes no sense, but you're gonna find out.
Yeah, everybody has their own version of a martini.
Yes,
and of course, that we have a recipe for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But they don't know that. Sometimes our guests order a martini, they just order because a friend ordered it. And if they don't like gin, or they don't know how to prepare for a cocktail, and they sip it, they're oh my God, this is completely boozy. But hey, that's a martini. That's what it is,
know? And I feel also it has to do with movies or everybody, you always hear a martini, martini. Because also I remember when I was hearing martini, and I didn't have any martini. And that happened to me. Once I was okay, I want to try a martini. And they told me little things, and I think I got, a straight up martini. And when I tried, I was what is this? It's just alcohol. But but then I learned about the dirty martini, and I was kind of falling in love with the dirty martini.
Yeah. Everybody has their own version of martini. For me, I would prefer a 50-50. Because I do like savory martinis, but I also prefer some botanical notes. Mm-hmm. So, and I also wanted to make it easy for the bartender sometimes. Well, not that easy, but I want to make it okay, so it's gonna take less than a white or heavy cream cocktail. I'm that stuff takes a little longer. But yeah, I mean, it just depends, like learning and as you progress your knowledge.
No, I want to ask you, what is your martini to go?
I like a classic martini, 2-1.
2-1.
2-1, I like twist, but I also like a really dirty martini. I remember one of my favorite back in the days. It was just a dirty, filthy martini, no vermouth, vodka with a model slice of jalapeno.
Oh.
Make it a little spicy and dirty.
Wow.
That's cool.
It reminded me of this cocktail they had at, back when that was Barlola, they had like a martini with, I think it was poblano pepper.
Really?
It was pico poblano pepper. It was so good because that was
with
right.
Julio?
Yeah.
Okay,
Julio.
Barcelona, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. But I know also where you establishment now where you're working. I want to get there in the future.
Yeah.
But I know you guys are known for the Gibsons.
Yeah, the Gibson is one of my guilty pleasures. It's after the first one, it's like you want another one. The onions are very delicious. It's not necessarily a dirty martini. People think of the onion brine as being, a little bit dirty, but it's rather more elegant and bright. And to me, it's like perfect on like a nice summer day.
Yeah, it is. It is really good.
I cannot have a Gibson
It's
because I have a onion thing.
Yeah, it's the little
Yeah.
bite. The idea of onions, and I do this because I love cooking too, is that once you pickle onions or like cook the onion, they get sweeter. So the longer they sit on this brine, they get this like nice sweet richness, and then take a little sip of the martini, kind of washes it off.
Yeah.
I just have an intolerance for onions, so I get sick when I get onions. So, but I you're right. Like it's like when you eat tacos as well, and you get like las cebollitas cambray.
Oh yeah,
they're super sweet. I like it, but them. I get sick.
You just mentioned that you were working in a different place. So you learning all these cocktails and moving to different positions to different restaurants. Mm-hmm. What was your next step after the? Or did you get hired at one of these places in the Lower East Side, or?
Well, that took a little bit of time. After living in Picante and living the other place where I was able to participate in this competition, I found Sexy Taco Dirty Cash. It was a restaurant in Harlem that whenever I tell people, like, I used to work at a place called Sexy Taco. People kind of laugh because it is a funny name. I got to tell you, that was, I was 23 at the time, or turning 23, still 22, I guess. And the owner, that was the only one interview that I had after, all my practices of interviews. He asked me the basic knowledge, and
you were like
I got this. So he was saying, okay, seems like you already got this. Now I want to ask you more personal questions. Are you okay with that? And I was like, yeah. That interview was like a whole hour interview. It was one of the first interviews that I feel like somebody was actually getting to know why I'm fitted for the position. Mm-hmm. And I was, carrying ammo. I was dressed for the position. I'm like, I need a job, and I was wearing dress pants with a vest, and at the time I used to wear a lot of fedoras, and I had one of my hand tattoos. A lot of these things, it was like self-conscious of like who I was, what is my character, who am I representing, or representing myself, and it took time, to build this knowledge, but also accepting who I was becoming. And the guy was asking me all these questions. Like, one of the questions was, why would I hire somebody with, you say you got 3 years of experience behind the bar, but you are still pretty young to apply. This job requires for you to be very independent, because it was just going to be me behind the bar on the weekends, sharing the bar with somebody else. And a lot of the bartenders were older, they were under their 30s with obviously more bartending experience. And he did ask me, he said, what have you done? And I mentioned Uptown Bartender Bars. And he was like, oh, that's interesting. One of my partners is one of the founders. So I was like, oh, perfect. So it seems like that's when I understood the connections and the networking. Who do you know?
Yeah.
it was one of the questions that he kind of asked me. It's like, who do you know? What bars do you know? He asked me about the bars that I like to go to. He asked me about the restaurants that I like to go to. Why do I like that food? Why do I like that to order certain things? And the reason why this interview was different, it was because I feel like he really wanted to know if I was experienced enough to talk to guests about everything that they come in and ask me. So yeah, he gave me the opportunity, and I got the job. I remember that menu was very inclined to food options. There was a cocktail that had chipotle in it, basil, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. A lot of the things that I learned, like making a boulevardier, making a beef carré, things that nobody really ordered at that time, it was getting ordered more and more often. So then I got to practice. And there's a big community in Harlem of bartenders that, we visit each other, and now I see it all over the city, but it really takes a lot of neighborhood, to what places does the neighborhood goes to, what are the locals going to?
Exactly.
Yeah, because also for people who doesn't live in New York City, I guess in every city in the world, there's like certain parts that you never go, right? So here in Manhattan, we have Upper East Side, Mid Manhattan, Lower Manhattan. We also have Brooklyn. We also have Queens. And many people who work, like, for example, in my case, I used to work a lot in the Lower East Side. I've never been in Harlem, like back in the day, right? Obviously. Also, the credibility in cocktail bars became more fluent in probably back in the 2012 or something. Yeah. And then they start building, and sometimes people also who work in Harlem is because they live uptown, and it's easier to stay in that area. And it's hard also if you live in Queens going to work to Harlem or backwards. So I feel like...
But also the pricing. Let's be honest, Manhattan is a little bit expensive when it comes to, ordering cocktails, the rent, everything. Everything affects the distribution of things. So it does get a little bit pricey when you are in certain areas of Manhattan versus when you are at a local place in the neighborhood where it's more comfortable. You don't have to necessarily dress up or, wow anybody necessarily.
Yeah. No, but it all depends also on the place you want to go and visit, Because I hear from friends also sometimes when they're in Brooklyn, they're like all the way to Coney Island, and, they don't want to travel all the way to, like, past, So
it's far.
It's far. Because otherwise it would be a 2-hour train ride, if the trains are running correctly. And if not, you got to take a cab. So that's why sometimes you tend to visit your local bars, your friends, and you become your regulars, and so on and so on.
And I feel also like nowadays the social media and also like more brands are involved in like building the community. We have more connections or networking. So sometimes if you do a pop-up in the Bronx, people are going to go because
exactly.
It's bigger now, the connection, I feel. But back in the day when like you were talking, like how was your experience like just working in Harlem, right?
So I feel like at that time I was like, this is the opportunity that I have, and it was very independent. A lot of the work production kind of rely on me and my bartender coworkers, but I was the one that had the most days at that place. So I was always, taking the initiative to check for the products, for the production, kind of like inventory, and hand it over to the owner. Like, here, this is what we have. So that was, first steps into learning the responsibility of running the bar correctly. And I met somebody there during the Uptown competition, which it happened again. And the second time I was more familiar with a lot of faces, a lot of people that work in the industry. I met somebody who worked at Rain's Law Room. That was my connection to working with Meaghan Dorman. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
I met people that are now brand ambassadors, and at that time, they were bartenders in Harlem, and that was because we were part of that community. And hearing from other friends, they were like, "Oh, you know what? It's if you want to learn, it seems like now you are in a good position where like you are more intrigued about learning about the spirits, learning about the cocktails. Why don't you just use your days off and go visit a bar, maybe one bar a week, be a guest, sit at the bar, watch the bartender. Don't be a creep. Don't like fully like lock your eyes on that person. Don't ask too many questions, but just be a regular guest.
Yeah.
Dress up, go on your own, go with a friend, and order a drink that you want to drink, and order a drink that you haven't seen made. If they don't know how to make it, it's fine. Just watch them work, and that will give you the initiative to learn. Like, is this what I want to do, or like, how would I do it? Let's say in Manhattan, what kind of vermouth were they using? This place was using that. That other place was using a different vermouth. The other place was using a different vermouth.
And then you're connecting there's a different types of vermouth, right?
Yeah, those things I'm like, you never seen. Now don't be afraid. Don't be shy to ask the questions. So now I'm not learning from the books, right? Because once you learn something from somewhere, you're like, oh, I feel like I already know this. I want to watch it. I want to see it being done. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, what kind of vermouth was that? And I've never seen that vermouth, or it's a Punta Mes, or it's a Carpano Antico, it is Coque de Torino, or there's multiple versions of a Manhattan all over the city.
Yeah.
Later, you get to understand, like, it's for flavor profile or it's really for what the bar really carries. But, I got to visit a lot of bars at that time. During my time at Sexy Taco, I came all over in the East Village. I remember pouring ribbons, Death & Co. What was the other place? Amor y Amargo, Mother of Pearl. Mm-hmm. All these cocktail bars back in the day. And I remember walking into the Rain Slow Room on 17th Street. And, it's amazing to see what a venue does to set up the ambience, the feeling when you walk in. And it's not just about the cocktail that you're paying for. Now I got to understand that you're paying for the experience.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily the cocktail. Any bartender will make the same Negroni anywhere. Different recipes, different product, but it will still be a Negroni. But it's not necessarily about the bartender, but it's what the bartender puts together with the vibe of the venue.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I feel like it's also the whole experience being behind the bar or any like position in front of the house. The experience starts when the guests start thinking about, I'm going to make a reservation or I'm going to go to this place. Because then they have this mentality of like, I want to be in a Saturday with my date or with my friends going to this place to have this type of music with this type of mood of like, restaurants that they have like light, the lights are like down and, So then they step in and they see, oh, this is what I wanted. And then just go to the bar and having a Negroni is part of like the experience. But if the bartender is like very, friendly, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, definitely. But then if it's like a bartender that doesn't,
want more, give me more.
Doesn't acknowledge the guest or is like in a bad mood or something, that energy transfers and it's like, well, maybe we should go to another place, right?
Yeah.
So that's very important that you mentioned that because I feel like you having that sensation of, oh, that's what it is, then you're an OG.
You get involved,
Yeah.
It does take time to kind of put yourself as part of this whole scene. It's I do remember, like, I'm talking still about Sexy Taco. It was a restaurant that also had like a happy hour and the cocktails were good, but it never really felt about the cocktails. It was more about the food and the drinks. And they also had to close down at some point, so then I left. I had no job. And the one connection that I found during this competition, the person that worked at the Raised Law Room at the William, he at that time was working at the Bennett. And the Bennett R.I.P. That was one of the bars that was part of the company, the Rains Law Room and the Irving families. I used to be in Tribeca, and I started at that place at the beginning of 2017, if I'm not mistaken, or 2016. One of those.
One of those. Time flies.
Yeah, time
You're getting
flies.
old. You're getting old.
It's all a funny story, and I feel like we're here to talk about how this industry is very important and how it's important to make impressions on people and somebody who knows somebody. The person that I met from Harlem was talking to a friend that we didn't know we were friends until later on because he used to work at Sexy Taco. It's a whole connection with this one. Friends, yeah. Circle of friends, Meant to know each other, didn't know until later on. It's like us, right? We were in the same area and never knew that the whole world was going to toss us, puts us together in this place right now. So, he asked him, he said, I'm looking for a bartender. You know anybody that's looking? And he's like, Ben. Oh, yeah. Is he not working at the moment? He said, no, he just left his job and he was looking for a job. So I went to my interviews for the Bennett, and my manager at the time, she asked me, where have you worked? And I was like, the last place I worked is Sexy Taco, Dirty Cash. And she laughed and she was like, haha, you hired. But then, it was all a joke, but it made me feel comfortable. And I feel like at that time I showed up with a little bit more confidence about what they were asking me. I was saying things that I knew. I wasn't making up anything. At this point, I knew things. But I did mention that I wanted to be able to evolve and learn a little bit more. There's always more for me to learn. And I felt that was going to be the place to help me out. Got to meet, Meaghan Dorman, the beverage director, and, watching someone like her to influence people on how to encourage them to learn things. And, I watched the repertoire of cocktails and watching her work, watching other people work, that they were very enthusiastic about making these drinks, learning this menu with multiple drinks, but you were kind of expected to know the classics. And honestly, people that were showing up to the bars, they were ordering those classics that I learned, that I was like, okay, I can finally put them into work. And it gave me that confidence. And, it didn't last for long, but that opened the opportunity after it closed down for me to work at Rains Law Room in Chelsea. And that was in 2018. And, to me, that was the dream job for when I was going for bars and working in a restaurant to working in a cocktail bar. I wanted to be able to build cocktails, and it was very intimidating at the time. Rains Law Room, it was a different setup where on one side you're only making the shaken drinks, on the other side you're making stir drinks, only because the space was very small, very tight. But that was a different level of bartending where, like, this is entirely different. This is not just a bar. It's not a happy hour bar. It's take your time, build, learn the things, and do it right.
Doing it with intention.
Exactly.
And multiple ingredients going into the one cocktail to create a experience still.
Yeah, and it's not like I was making up a drink for somebody that's paying money. And I think at that time in 2018, drinks were still like $17 price.
Yeah, something around 16,
17, 18. Yeah, it was still a little bit pricey for Manhattan prices, but what can you do?
That's what there was.
My question is did you knew when you started working about Meaghan, or it was just the first time that you knew about her?
No, I never heard of it and never heard of her. And I was like, it feels amazing to be learning from all these people, and not just, our beverage director, but the people that I work next to. I worked with people that came from other states. They had different experiences. They work at different cocktail bars. People with background, people with that level of experience that expected higher of you. I feel like that was the first time I was like, okay, I'm learning something entirely new, where like they've done this before. They've done something different. Talking about infusions, talking about how to use this different types of vermouths or spirits, or how to describe a whiskey to a guest, how to describe a cocktail to a guest, and how to be able to store a lot of cocktails in your head and ask a guest, what are you in the mood for? Let me
make you something on the
Let
spot.
me make you something for you. I'm not making anything up, but I'm going to go through the memory that I have of all these cocktails, and I'm going to find something that suits you. This is something I have learned from Meaghan and the whole Rains Law Room family. At the time, I'm like one of my good friends, Thomas Bates. He was the head bartender at Rains. And, the only thing I can say is that learning from people, how to interact with guests, I feel like at this point at Rains Law Room, we never had like a stools to sit at the bar, but it's more like a standing room. Mm-hmm. And learning how to communicate with guests and like asking them what they want, how should they go, where you're coming from, and then being able to build drinks, multiple rounds. Rains Law Room is kind of like a service bar, but also a bar where you have to talk to guests, and we don't ever see what happens really in the back scene. It's all the servers, but then you're like constantly making cocktails.
Yeah, we've been there several times. I have been there for a few times, but I love the space.
And now it feels like when you go to like a party. Because, people can be in the service bar, like you mentioned. They were talking to each other. It's a small place, but it feels like, it's like people are comfortable talking there. And then you go in the back where everybody's sitting. It's like, like they're having like little snacky or something.
Yeah, like you have friends in your house and you go to the kitchen and like,
exactly.
I'm doing everything here. Help yourselves. You're in your house.
Yeah, and how long did you work there? Because I know you moved to a new place.
Yeah, so I started at Rains Law Room in 2018, and up until 2024.
2024, and this
is a long time.
Yeah, 2019?
No,
2018.
2018 and 2024. That's 8 years.
6 years.
6 years. Oh,
math is not moving. Right
no, we know.
So funny. We don't know how to measure. We know how to measure. We don't know how to do math.
But yeah, so previously working at the Band for like a year and a half. So I thought I'm still working with the company, and everybody's that I work with, and I'm gonna tell you, there's so many learning lessons. Like kind of going back to that interview when this guy asked me, "Why should I be hiring you when you are 23 years old?" And I understand now why you really look into somebody that is a certain age and that has, learned in the fastest way. And I think there's this quote from an Indian guy that says, slow success develops character and fast success develops ego. And so I feel like all of us and, a lot of people in the industry, and especially bartenders, at some point we have boosted and felt that ego that you're like, oh, I know this much. Later on, the more you work, the more you study, the more you learn, you're like, okay, I move past that, phase of myself where you're like, I need to like humble myself down. There's so much more than that. So.
Yeah. I feel like, yes, it is. That's very true, because sometimes your head is over the sky. You think,
everything.
You know everything.
Yeah.
But in reality, when you stay grounded with your friends, the group of friends you have surrounding you, also sometimes help you keep rooted, We're like, hey, like we all bartenders, you're not, we do this for a living. We love what we do. We get our education just as much as you do. And it's great because we are coming up together, we help each other. Like if we sit down and, have a drink and you have an interaction about the drink or talk about the drink, you might be talking about the story about the drink, you don't necessarily have to be like, just chugging a cocktail, you know. Like, that's what I think, you know, what I personally have done. What do you have to say?
No, I was going to say that also I feel like you guys, I mean, you never wear a bar bag.
No, but I wear all the hats.
No. I'm just saying this because I feel like also there is a period of time that, you know, especially Latinos, we were like kind of like don't touch this in the bar, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like also having this experience, person like you working behind the bar as a Latino, it helps to have not just representation, but also helpful of like, you know, someone that you can approach easier and then move to like be more comfortable asking everyone around you, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is one of the important parts of being in the places that I've been at. They never saw me this way. But I gotta say that the guests have, you know, the people have that impression. They're like, oh, this Latino, like, can you ask the bartender to do this? Like, I'm your bartender. What can I make for you? You know, it happened to me a couple of times. I always decided to just oversee and, you know, pay no mind. But at the time when I moved to Rains Law Room, there was like only a couple of Hispanic bartenders that I knew, and I feel like that was very important, you know, to, you know, like I got the opportunity. And again, when I was saying about building yourself, that character is that you really had to know who you're presenting. Like, I used to work with another person named Benjamin, so the reason why now I put myself as Ben Z is because the person that I was working with, his name was also Ben. So anytime they called Ben, we both were very confused as who they were talking to.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, so from now on it's Ben M and Ben Z. So the Ben Z really, you know, sticked. And I'm like, that's the character. That's me behind the bar and Ben Z. So yeah, so, you know, me being given that opportunity, I feel like it was now, you know, I'm holding a different aspect where like some people feel like, oh, that's something that I can accomplish. You know, like I had a couple barbecks and they were like, oh, how do you make it? Like, did you barback before? Not necessarily. I was buzzing when I was in high school, but I didn't really spend a lot of time behind the bar. It was more about like really learning about the bar. And, you know, when I was talking about ego, it's not really what that position you want to fill in, but it's really doing it, like you said, with a purpose. And what I was saying about, you know, you really need to be mature enough because I feel like you make so many mistakes when you're young. You know, it comes with the late night shifts, the going out after work, the
drinking.
You know, exactly. And, you know, you get sidetracked. You get people calling out for work, showing up late for work. It's, you know, there's all these things now that it's not just about the bar. It's not about the cocktails. And that's what have built the character for me. I feel like I learned all these lessons and you learn this responsibility, which later on, I feel like that was what put me into the spot for when Rains Law Room needed a head bartender. I put myself there. I said, I kind of want this, you know. And I also learned that, you know, when you want things, you got to ask for it. You had to, but you have to be confident and you have to know that you're coming in with the things that you know. Like, I want this. Can I please have it? And then they'll say, maybe you can try. And if you're ready, show us that you can. And
And you were ready.
I was ready. I feel like I learned the things and I was ready for that position. And, you know, it's not necessarily the title, because I know some people want a title to say I worked, I did this, I did that. It's really how to put that title into work. Which
Exactly.
It requires to do everything that your coworkers are doing, but more than anything, people see you as a leader. You know, it's the leadership. It's something that is not easy to cover because obviously you don't expect to be perfect, or you don't. But everybody expects you to have everything ready for them. You know, like open the bar. Every time I open Rain Slow Room, it was like, you have your setup time. You got an hour and a half, set up the bar, put the lights, set the mood, lights on. All right, the show must come on. And then that's when you put on your, your uniform. I call it your costume. You are entertaining. It's you're ready for action. You put your mask on, and then you are ready to entertain. And everything that you put it into practice. And as you go, my first years of learning this position is beyond ordering alcohol, beyond changing a menu, training staff members, and not just bartenders, because at Rain's Law Room there was so many hats that were worn. Like, I had to step on the floor. I usually used to serve on Sundays because I want to know the conversations that go on the floor, because it didn't happen as much at the bar. What are people asking for? What's the common trend? Are Cosmos the head? Is ginger cocktails the head? Is mezcal cocktails the head? What can I suggest? Build this bartender choice options for my bartenders, communication, sending them emails. Hey, by the way, cocktail of the week is this. People are loving it. Should suggest this or that. My barbacks, training them and teaching them how to put and store things away. Like, how do I want the work to be done? How do I expect the places to
run the whole bar? It takes a lot of situations, right? Because like you said, it's very important also to cheer people when you say that it's not about the title. Yeah. Because there is people that they want to go and say it's like, oh, I'm the manager because I want to just have the power trip. But it's very important when you have a leader that not just shows up to work, but also to keep that mentality of we are all part of the team, right? And if I say to do something, it's not because I'm your boss; it's because it needs to be done, and it's a puzzle that we have to accomplish every night. And now you have another position, which is a title, but it's very important because now you're at Dear Irving. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Years later, in 2024, I got the opportunity to, same company, Rain's Law Room, Dear Irving. Well, I want to try something new. You already have something established at Rain's Law Room. You have a team. And mind you, the team at work sometimes is family, sometimes it's friends, but they all speak to me and we all speak to each other as coworkers. It's the common goal, the common purpose of getting through the night, make customers happy, suggest as much as possible, learning something new, excited about new menus. And it was something that I already knew how to do. And what I've been talking about earlier is comfortability. And I don't like to be still. I like to try new things. I like to challenge myself to something new. So Meaghan Dorman came to me and she was like, hey, a new place is going to open soon. Do you think that this is something that you like? And, it was kind of scary because after 6 years of building different teams at Rain's Law Room, working with different people, I was kind of sucks to let go of the people that you're comfortable working with. Mm-hmm. But I knew that everybody knew how to work. Everybody learned. And so sometimes I get a little emotional because it's Rain's Law Room was my dream bar.
Your baby.
My baby. But for many years, the people that I left there, they knew how to run it, and it doesn't take somebody to say, oh, Ben needed to be here, Ben did that. But now I pass this on to somebody else. And something that we talk about at Rain's Law Room is legacy. What is this legacy that we leave on? It's the mentors, the people that have been there. Like I said in the past, I had head bartenders, and what was something that I learned from them? I didn't know all these things if it wasn't for them. It was how to take direction and how to take accountability and how to be better at designing something for the team. Because I'm not going to say all of them were the greatest. They had their times, they had their moments. And stress builds up, and it's about us to control that because you can't express that into work. But anyway, so going into Dear Irving on Broadway was something new. I never really opened a place from the beginning, from the ground up, and now it's been running for almost a year and a few months.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy. It's beautiful, and it's where it needs to be. We have all types of regulars, and I've been challenged for the past year on, I can tell you the beginning of Dear Irving on Broadway with a new staff, with every single member of the team. There's a couple familiar faces, but what I learned over the years is that in order for you to having something functionable, you have to create systems. You can't walk into work and learn as you go on the rush. You create a system, follow that system.
Yeah.
When something's going wrong, go back to that system and say, okay, this is what we should do, and move forward. And
Exactly.
I didn't know that. It takes practice. Like Rain's Law Room, sometimes we were so busy, but then I'm like, we got to find this structure. This is when we get busy. This is when we get hit. And it was always taking me back to like learning the kitchen, right? I remember like flipping so many burgers, and from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, 10 a.m. to like 1 p.m., we'll be so busy. So I had to set up, all my garnishes and everything. I knew I was going to deplete that, but then I had a backup. So by the time that we like transition into lunchtime, the next one was ready. Okay. So that is when you create that system that works. At work, I always tell people, when you set up as if you were going to serve 300 people. Just make sure that you're always ready.
Yeah, always get ready. Never run around. Always get ready.
And always leave your station as it's going to be ready for the next day, right?
Absolutely.
I think that's important, because I think it's important to learn that every time you work your own station, if you guys work as a bartender, I mean, if the audience who's listening, they're, seasoned bartenders, when you create a cocktail, when you build a cocktail, resetting this is important as creating the cocktail, because you're ready to do another one and another one. If you let 4 tints on the sink and you're not clean them, by the time you try to make those 4 cocktails, you have to wash that. So that's time that you sometimes you are missing. But in the long run, honestly, time, it's movement, and you're not moving. So people's waiting for the cocktail for 20 minutes. You don't want to wait for cocktails for a long period of time.
Shout out to my team at Rain's Law Room and Chelsea, and shout out to my team at Dear Irving on Broadway. Yay. And all the other bars that I love so much, too, Dear Irving, Gramercy, and the William. You guys kill it.
Yeah, so talking about people that are important. Many people also knows you in the industry, and you were talking about your work life. Mm-hmm. So what about your personal life? When do you have fun? How do you meet your wife? Tell us about your wife.
So yeah, a lot of people that I met, and there's 3 of us that are really sick for a long time. Well, it just really involves a lot of people, but some of the people that we moved from the Bennett at the time in 2017, Robin Guzman, really good friend, that he's currently at Rain's Law Room and Bar Clemente, and Kelsey, which is my wife, and we met at the Bennett, and it's a great story because working along with people that you care deeply enough, you build this connection, and you sort of become, a lot of people say you don't have friends at work, but this is the people that you interact with the most. At the end of the day, I see a lot of people throughout the week, and they're still in the company because he now is the head bartender at Dear Irving and Gramercy. We worked together at Rain's Law Room as well for a little bit, and the people that I worked at Rain's Law Room, one of my really good friends that I brought into work, he was one of the barbacks, and now he's the head bartender at Rain's Law Room. So he worked also his way up to meeting that position.
That's amazing.
And my nephew that works at Rain's Law Room, I'm like, you have to find the people that are capable of doing the job. And once we are at work, you are understanding that we are here for the same purpose. And the ethic and what we expect to function as, Meaghan Dorman, who's the one that has set us up for this is the expectation for guests. And, a lot of these friends, and I think you had them on your podcast, Fabiola and Katie.
Yes.
It's very important that a lot of the people that I have worked with and some of the best bartenders are, also females, like, there is an opportunity for everyone. And earlier when I talk about like Hispanics being behind the bar, I'm very happy to see what the movement nowadays is, that you just see females behind the bar, you see Hispanics behind the bar, you see everyone. Everybody is a person. Everybody is their own personality. Is
the inclusion,
quality. Yeah. And I'm very fortunate to work with these people next to them, as incredibly smart, work ethic, exceptional, and again, the bar scene has opened up family like you guys. Like you guys are family to me. They're like friends that are very close. That whenever we bump into each other, hi, how's everything? I'm not gonna talk about work, but it's more about how are you doing and how to really ask somebody like, genuinely, how are you doing? Or how's everything?
Yeah, with a New Yorker accent. How you doing?
How you doing?
But then I want the gossip. I want the chisme. I want the secret. So it's fun because every time that Edgar and I we go out and we see you with your wife Kelsey. I think the first time I met you, it was at Tell's in a pool. And Edgar was like,
I forgot I was going to bring you guys a picture, because I have a picture with you guys at the pool. Yeah.
Yeah?
I took
so then I saw you and I was like, oh, that's cool. Because my introduction into the bar world, it was like a little late in my hospitality career. But then I started meeting all these bartenders, brand ambassadors, and everything. And then when Edgar told me about you, it was like, oh, that's cool. And then we talk about where you're coming from. And then you introduced me to you. At that point, it was
my girlfriend.
My girlfriend, yeah.
Your girlfriend?
Yeah, it was his girlfriend. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then eventually, I saw the pictures of you were like engaged, and that was like sometimes when we see each other, it's like, oh, let's do something with like. I want to do a couples podcast, but I definitely want to like hear your story first,
especially from the industry,
Yeah, because that's what I always said. Like, it's sometimes in New York City, or like many people, they know that it's very hard to have a personal life or like dating life, because we all work different hours. It's also very complicated to have like a set date with friends or everything, but also having a person that understands and it also has your same goals is hard. So having a person in your life that also does the same, and also they work together, it's also sometimes kind of weird, but it's a good way, right?
Yeah. When we worked together, like, it was, we kind of kept it a secret in a way, but somehow people knew, and
can smell it.
Yeah, like they smell it, like these guys are like, hooking up or like they're hanging out, but we always kept it professional during the time that we were working together, and it does get a little bit, weird, but then at the end of the day, we remind ourselves that we are here for the common purpose of doing the shift. We are professionals and we know how to do it. We have worked together outside of work, different private events, and both of us, we kind of put on like our responsibility hat. We're like, okay, we're gonna do this way. And it's a great communication because, she went from being my coworker, my girlfriend, everything, to now, like, we live together. We know how to distribute all these responsibilities, and, we had to do our administration work. We're both in the same place, kind of like locked that into what we have to do. Once we are done, our responsibilities are over, and then decide to take time for ourselves, which is, it's a little bit hard, but it is very important, because dating life, I guess, in New York City, it's a little bit different. Nobody really understands our schedule. And,
Exactly.
Nobody like, oh, you need to meet my friends. And at this point, like her friends are my friends, our friends is we all friends.
Yeah.
It's a very cool, introduction to everybody. We have a very similar schedule. We work in different bar venues, different locations. So like it's cool to like kind of come home and vent a little bit. Like, oh, guess who I served tonight? Or this person came to the bar. Or like this was happening at the bar is very interesting. Like we came home and like, all right, I got some tea for you. There was this couple at the bar and they were this way. Like
Too much kissing in the bar.
yeah, like, how do you walk away from that? But it is also important when it comes to a lot of decision making. 100% she's the boss, so she makes the decisions. But no, when it comes to like decision making on certain things that are, bar responsibilities, and like I don't know how to approach, she doesn't know how to approach. We kind of like talk to each other, like let's brainstorm this. Like, what do you think will be the best approach to certain things? Like, how do we train the bar backs, or like how do we do certain things at work? Obviously, it's a very different thing, but I have somebody that I can talk to and communicate that understands the same language, the bar talk.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And that's why this podcast is called Bar Talking,
Yeah.
Talking Bar. You have to say it with us. You have to say it with us. 1, 2, 3. Bar Talking, Talking Bar.
Well, Benji, it was a pleasure hearing your story. Thank you so much for all the insights, and I believe many people are gonna learn from you. They already, like people who knows you, they already know your work ethic, and you became now like part of the industry that people look up. And Edgar was very. When you introduced me to Ben, also it was like kind of like telling me like this guy. It's a very good bartender, and
because at this point I think I've seen your work, but I never really had interacted with you. Like, no, I'm talking about because I met you a while ago. I saw your work, and then we never interacted. But I remember seeing you at one of the Panorama Mezcal events a long time ago. I think it was just Miss Joe or something, or Miss Yu.
The one before the pandemic.
Yeah, that one.
The shutdown.
And then I remember seeing you there. And I remember you were the flag. I was like, oh shit, where are you from? And then I started learning like your background a little bit, because people know
Yeah.
like who's that guy?
Who's that guy?
And and that's pretty cool, because like I think the one thing we'd take from this episode is that your willingness to learn and to improve yourself and to grow. It goes, You share it with everybody. You might not see it, but people's watching. Like I can say that I'm personally proud of you.
I'm always watching everybody.
But
and also the team. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, and for me, it's very like important seeing like not just you two guys, but like Latinos supporting each other, because it was a period of time also that people were afraid of like, I don't want to bring anyone, like, because maybe they want to take my job, and now you guys, I put in that. Example of like
Legacy,
and also like if I know something, I want to share it with you, right? So
yeah. You might not know it at all, but there are books for that. But thank you, thank you so much, Benji. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your story with us tonight. Nuri, thank you. Thank you for another episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
And for more episodes like this, or please go to our website.
talkingbarnyc.com. I don't know if I said 3 W's, but it's
Triple
3
W.
And please subscribe to YouTube channel and make a comment on Instagram, so we can work with the algorithm.
Algorithm.
I never can pronounce it.
And Benji, one more thing. Can you please just share your social media handles so we can, if people want to reach out to you, or they ever see you, follow you?
My personal social media, I use Instagram as public, at 2424 Benz, BENZ _
Yeah. And Rainslow?
Dear Irving on Broadway.
Dear Irving on Broadway. All right. So you guys got it. There you go.
And yeah, definitely don't forget to tip your bartenders. And as you know, we have a donation program for the podcast to support us. Go to Buy My Coffee. There is information under here. And we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you so much for joining us again. And
See you later, alligator.
Okay, thank you.
See you later, Alligator. Thank you, and shout out to Kelsey. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista, baby.
baby.